housing flips, they don't fail on paint colors. They fail on not having a solid plan. Hey there, welcome to Mortgage Tips and Bacon Bits. I'm Sean Segaloff. Thanks for watching. Thanks for also clicking that like button and that subscribe button. So when we're talking about flips, there's things we need to look at to make sure it's a good plan. You got to look at your budget. You can't have your budget be too low. You want to be realistically, and you want to have a buffer in there. You want to make sure that when you're saying, oh yeah, it's only going to cost this, is it really going to cost that? Have you talked to contractors? That's the biggest thing is I'll get people and they're doing flips and they're like, oh yeah, the budget's going to be this. I'm like, okay, great. How'd you come up with that? Well, I think this is what a stove costs, or I think this is what the roof costs. Okay, have you gotten any quotes? No? Okay, you need to get quotes. Get quotes if you're doing appliances. Get quotes if you're doing plumbing from a plumber. Get quotes from a general contractor, roofer. You got to be using realistic numbers, and you got to have a buffer in there because you never know when prices of materials are going to increase or you're going to discover something you didn't plan on originally. So you want to make sure that budget isn't too low. Another thing is the ARV, which is after repair value or renovation value. You want to make sure that it's realistic, not optimistic. You want to make sure that you or your realtor are doing comps, comparables to see, okay, if we take this property and we put this in it, what else in this area has sold in the last 6 to 12 months that's similar to this, and what did it sell for? And again, you want to have a buffer in there. You want to be safe. And I know you always hear me saying, be safe, be safe, be safe. Maybe I'm overcautious, but we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars in a lot of cases. We're dealing with people's lives in a lot of cases. The last thing you want to do is, buy a property, say, oh yeah, I think it's going to sell for $2 million. And then when the repairs are done, you find out it's 1.5 and now you just lost money. Another fantasy that people have a lot of times is the timeline. Oh yeah, we can knock this out. I know we've all watched a show on TV where they go in and they renovate that place in a week and they sell it and they make money. Yeah, it doesn't usually work that way. If you're an experienced flipper and you have a GC license, you have your own crew, maybe you can run multiple shifts, so you're running 24/7. You can make stuff move quicker, but a lot of people aren't doing that. A lot of people are hiring general contractors, they're hiring plumbers, they're hiring roofers. So one of the important things you need to do when you're getting your estimates for your plan is ask them timelines. Say, look, I need realistic timelines. If I buy this, once I close, how soon do you think you're going to be able to start? How long do you think it's going to take you to do it? And again, leave that buffer, buffer. I'm going to keep saying it. Leave that extra time and make sure you factor that into your costs and your expenses, because that's the longer it takes for them to do it, the longer it is before you can put it on the market and sell it. That timeline fantasy, that becomes a thing there. And again, this is Mortgage Tips and Bacon Bits. I appreciate you watching, so let's talk about more bacon bits. And I know we can talk a lot of stuff about bacon. Sweet bacon. Not like maple, like breakfast bacon, but like bacon on ice cream, chocolate covered bacon. I'm not a huge dessert bacon person. I like smokiness and saltiness. For me, it's salt. If you give me a choice between, a bag of potato chips and a giant piece of chocolate cake, I'm choosing the potato chips every time. So what about you? Is bacon a dessert thing for you? And if so, how do you use it? And put it in the comments, because God knows my doctor says I need more reasons to use bacon and gain weight. So back to mortgages. Don't ignore your carrying costs. And again, that's when we talk about that time frame. And yes, with some fix and flips, you're not making payments while the work's being done. You can interest escrow the payments. But are you factoring in your taxes? You're factoring in insurance coverage. Are you factoring that stuff into your time frame? Is it a property inside an HOA that you're flipping? Yeah, we can discuss that another time. Are you factoring the HOA fees? Are you factoring getting approvals from the HOAs on stuff? Yeah. Flips in an HOA, you got to have a longer thought process about that. And really, in my opinion, be an experienced flipper before you start doing that. So when you're talking about those carrying costs, you got to think about the draw process, and you got to make sure you understand it. You understand what is the draw process, how long is it. Make sure the contractors and the people you're working with understand it. You may have a GC that wants 50% up front, but your draw process may not allow that. So they need to be okay with how they're getting funded, not just the timeframes and the amounts, but the process. Is it simple as pictures of, hey, we're at this point here, hey, this has been done, and the lender releases next? Or is it a situation where an inspector has to come out and say, okay, this has been completed, they're checking to make sure it's completed properly, and then the funds are released? So you want to make sure you understand that draw process. And again, like I said, the people you're working with do. Because the last thing you want is somebody starts the project, gets their initial draw, wants more money, they're not capable of getting more money yet, and they walk off the job. That's important things you need to keep in mind. The biggest part of the plan, in my opinion, honestly, is the end. It's the exit process. What is your process of the exit? What's your goal? Is this a fix and flip? Is it you're looking to fix it up and you're going to sell it right away? Is it a fix and hold or fix and rent where, you're going to fix it up, you're going to hold it, and you're going to make it a rental property? A lot of people do that. Or maybe your goal is to refinance it. Maybe you're going to fix it up, refinance it, pull cash out, use that for the next project, and then either sell the property or rent the property. Those are things to look at too. But, when you're coming up with your budget, you need to know what your exit plan is, because that's going to dictate a lot of your budget. So these are all important things. Fix and flips can be great. You want to make sure you know what you're doing, especially if you're first time. And there are some lenders that will work fix and flips with first time investors, but there's going to be stricter requirements because they want to make sure you know what you're getting into. Me as a lender, I'm going to want to make sure you know what you're getting into. There's a lot of lenders that are going to say, oh, you want a loan? Here you go. I'm not that way. I want to make sure we're doing right by the client. It's not about just a commission. So if you do want to work with a lender who has your best interest in mind, not just a commission check, and you have questions about fix and flips or any other loan product, or maybe you just want to talk about bacon, I get my calendar link down in the description. And if you could also do me a huge favor, share this with someone who'll find the information useful, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because mortgages, they shouldn't be complicated. They just need to be explained clearly.